You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And as you know, always here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And I like briefly to share my take. And my take, I'm asking about how exactly the parties are looking to fight corruption, which is a big issue. And as we know that those who give us money to help our development have noted and complained that as much as 3 billion United States dollars is unaccounted for in this country each year. Well, I'm saying that to tell you a story. Corruption is a very difficult thing to fight. Not exactly difficult, but in prosecuting it, there's a big issue. And the big issue is that it happens in darkness. It happens in darkness. And because that is how it happens, if the person who is making the allegation is the one who must prove at all cost everything about it, it becomes a really difficult thing. Now, first, I need to start that the continued refrain by the political parties about raising and making corruption a high-risk offense. That's not what we need, because that is a misleading representation and crusade that the parties have conveniently done over the years, that corruption is not a high-risk offense. Corruption is a high-risk offense in Ghana here. They continue to speak to the old position of the law, which made corruption a misdemeanor, which meant that the sanction you were to suffer if you were punished under corruption was not more than 3 years in jail. Well, we made a change to that. The law in 1960 made it a misdemeanor. But in 1965, we decided to elevate the punishment for corruption offenses from misdemeanor to felony, with a maximum of 25 years in prison. A maximum of 25 years in prison. So what we really need is enforce the law and not continue this refrain about it's not a high risk, so we'll amend the law to make it a felony. It's punished as a felony. That's the most important thing. So I think it's rather embarrassing that the parties, political parties, and people who ought to know continue to tell us that we want to change the law before. Don't change the law. Simply enforce the law. And as I have asked often and again, and Asa Nkuma has also been asking, there is this one very scant but monstrous 6-sectioned one-page law. It's known as the Government Contracts Protection Act, passed as far back as 1979. A very active law which it deals with, we know that procurement is where the corruption is. Procurement, that's where the corruption, heavy corruption is. So we passed this law as far back as 1979. And by this law, if you make fraudulent payments, if you deal in projects and procurement, and you make fraudulent payment or what the law calls as certification, false certification, it will attract a refund of up to 3 times the value of the contract sum. By this law, we take back as much as 3 times the value of the contract sum from you. And then you could go to jail for up to 10 years. Guess what? There is no record in this country of this law ever used by those who prosecute. In Article 88 of the Constitution, is the Attorney General who must prosecute. So why do we not use the law? The laws are there. Question is, why are you not using it? Okay? And perhaps my little suggestion, which I have made over time, is it possible to look at the an amendment, rather, if we really want to amend, look at an amendment that looks at perhaps changing the procedural rules in fighting corruption, where we substitute the civil law countries rules of evidence for our common law, country rules. By the common law country rules, you allege, you prove. By the civil law country rules, you allege, the one that is alleged against, of course, there are clear rules about it, must prove that he could afford what he has done. If it is a property, if it's a car you have bought, it's a house you've bought, we simply ask, you're a journalist, Samson, how much are you paid at the end of the month? What is the source of the money? And guess what? Our Constitution says unexplained wealth is actually supposed to be taken from us. The laws are there. Let's stop this too much talk and just enforce the laws. Thank you. That's by way of my take.